Hello and welcome to Politics Tonight, where we dig and go beyond the headlines for informed analysis of major political stories in Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. New Speaker of Lagos Assembly, Mojisola Miranda, of the lawmakers meet Governor's Advisory Council 24 hours after removal of Mudashiru Obasa. Tonight, our focus is on inclusivity and social safety net, and I will be speaking with Dr. J.K. Pele, policy development analyst. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. For every working organization or society, individuals are at the top of its operations, influencing the output of such systems. Now, statistics has revealed that persons living with disabilities are more likely to experience extreme poverty in Nigeria than those without. While there is no clear estimation of the number of people with disability in Nigeria, data from the 2018 Nigeria Demographic and Health Survey revealed that an estimated 7% of household members above the age of 5 experience some level of difficulty in at least one functional domain. The Nigerian government has taken steps to address the needs of persons with disabilities. One of such is the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Act 2018, although implementation is yet to materialize. And in addition to that, 9 states out of 36 in Nigeria have enacted disability laws to safeguard the rights of persons with disabilities to varying degrees of implementation. Tonight, we take another look at disability inclusion and social safety nets. And to help us do justice to this conversation is Dr. J.K. Pele, an expert in policy development and advocacy, and is also a founder, TAF Africa. Dr. Pele, Happy New Year to you, and thank you very much for joining us on Politics Tonight.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
You have a new you. Both yourself and the studio are all new.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pele. Let's get straight into our conversation. This is 2025, and it's evidence that Nigeria's journey to achieving disability inclusive development has not been without challenges. I know that after ratifying the UNCRPD in 2007 and the optional protocols in 2011, it took 12 years of relentless advocacy work for Nigeria to finally get a Disability Act in place. Social inclusion in disability, have we made any progress?
Yes, we have. I must say, ratification of those instruments are part of the progress. Assenting the Disability Act into a law is one of the progress. Establishment of the National Commission for Persons with Disability is one of the progress that we have made. Inclusion of disability component into the Electoral Act is also one of the progress that we've made. If you observe that some of the progress that we've made in terms of legislation, the Legislative Assembly is becoming a bit more inclusive, and of course, the issue of discrimination and stigmatization is reducing. So we have made remarkable progress. The president appoints a special assistant, senior special assistant on disability. So the executive is making some headway. The legislative assembly is making some headway. The judiciary is also making some headway. And then in the social circle, as well as in the social development space, there is a remarkable progress. There's also a remarkable progress in the media.
Among persons with disabilities, how do you evaluate government investment in inclusive employment and likelihood interventions?
I think there's a move to revamp or reinstate the National Social Investment Program. A couple of them have come back on stream. I have been having regular interface with the Minister of Humanitarian and I am very happy with the progress we've made so far in terms of sitting down to do a proper design of the intervention program. He is very much knowledgeable about the social register, which is a big problem. If we can get the data right, then we can get the interventions right. And this current minister is assiduously working on getting an integrated, well-interrogated data. And once we get that, we're on the road to a well-structured intervention, and the beneficiaries will be smiling home. So there's a remarkable progress made, but there's still a lot to be done, no doubt.
It looks like positive projections for you, but for disability-focused organizations in Nigeria, how empowered are they to support this process and perhaps provide services to persons with disabilities and caregivers?
I think that's a good question. There's a need for government to recognize the efforts of several organizations of persons with disability, not just paying lip service to recognizing their effort, but also to help them by one way or the other providing capacity, help them by positioning them to be able to receive grants from the international community. I'm not given to asking government to give money to NGOs. That's not what we're structured to do, you know. But if government assists us by recognizing some of the little effort that we are making, giving us access to provide the much needed frameworks for ministries and agencies of government, ensuring that some of our little work that we're doing, little good work that we're doing, can be entrenched into government agencies and programs for sustainability's sake. The problem is that we have very limited resources, and because we have very limited resources, we invest in very limited intervention. And once the resources is depleted, then that intervention will not continue. That's not what we want. We want a sustainable intervention that when we kickstart, government can continue that intervention so that we can reach the much needed people within the community and even outside the community. I mean, I just came back from my community where I launched a very strategic project that I think any government can borrow a leaf from. I launched Cash for Elders. I was able to raise money across board from friends. I was the first to put down my own, you know, but then friends who saw the need to support the project came and we raised money, and we went, I personally went to 193 elders in my community, 193. I didn't send anybody, I went myself and delivered cash, and I can mention 20,000 naira each to every one of them. And now the success of that project, my king, King Jaja of Opobo, you know, has approved for me to raise funds and build what will be known as the first old people home. It will be a complex that with hospice services, it will be a complex that will have little clinic, a complex that will have food pantry, a complex that will have
I hear you,
playground.
Dr. Pele, and that would lead me to my next question. While commending the level of work South Africa is doing in this regard, but in your years of advocacy and concerted efforts to raise awareness surrounding disability issues, which many of us believe would shift negative perceptions and stigma against persons with disabilities among families and communities, do you think government officials, policymakers and decision makers are aware of the importance of disability as a development issue and perhaps enhance data collection on disability?
That's a big problem, the last thing you said about data. And I have been drumming it from the rooftop that we cannot make concerted strategic intervention if we don't have accurate, verifiable data in its disaggregated manner. If we don't have data that the international community can trust, if we don't have data that is evidence-driven, if we don't have data that is verifiable, if we keep talking about numbers that we don't have evidence to back it up, then nobody will take us serious. I think government needs to invest in getting accurate number of persons with disability in the country. And there's an economic benefit. When we know the numbers, it can attract investors. If we know that, take for instance, there are 50 million Nigerians who will need wheelchair, it will attract wheelchair manufacturers. If we know that there is 10 million Nigerians who will use cane for the blind, it will attract cane manufacturers. If we know that there are maybe 4 or 5 million persons who are with albinism, of course it will attract magnifying glasses where necessary or large print materials. You know, if we know the numbers of persons who are hard in hearing, it will attract all kinds of devices, you know. So there is an economic benefit to knowing the actual number of persons with disability in the country. And I'm using this forum to call on the likes of MBS, National Population Commission, and every development partners that are involved in data collection and analysis to invest in persons with disability so that we will know the number and not keep projecting or using numbers that are not verifiable. We make ourselves a laughingstock.
Are there peculiarities regarding the plight of people with disabilities in northern Nigeria?
Yeah, well, persons with disability go through virtually the same thing everywhere, although there are some locations that are worse than some locations, mainly one, because of awareness, two, because of a well-designed strategic intervention. The other thing is because there are skills. Where there are skill gaps, where the government of that region is not aware of what to do or is not willing to do what they should do, then we will have the most vulnerable suffer that ignorance much more than other locations. So yes, there are places in the north that their situation is worse off. There are also places in the south that their situation is worse. So,
Dr. Pele, that was an intentional question. I wanted to know the impact the insecurity ravaging the north, including recent humanitarian disasters, have on persons living with disabilities.
Yeah, intentionally I will answer, you know, because I was on a show today in another network with Honorable Tijani, who is the federal commissioner in charge of migration, refugee, and IDPs. You know, the situation calls for concern. The situation is appalling, and that's why I regularly in the past 3 days have had meetings with the current Minister of Humanitarian, and I like one thing that I keep experiencing with him, his willingness to open up, take responsibility and be able to communicate what he wants to do. He's been on your network, your late morning show, talking about what they are ready to roll out, So there's a need to support them. You know that I have always been objective in my criticism of government, but where I have to, I do. And I'm not afraid of anybody, On the network today, in one of the network, I told him, I said, the day I find out you're not doing well, Honorable Minister, I will be your first critics. I will criticize you. But now, with what I'm hearing, with what he's doing, I think he's doing a yeoman's job and needs to be encouraged. And that's why individuals like me would speak Absolutely. On behalf of the ministry and also to see what I can get from the international community to support the ministry.
Absolutely, Dr. Pele, because I know for a fact that for every time we spoke in the year 2024, we talked about laws protecting rights of persons living with disabilities. My question to you tonight would not be about how comprehensive they are, but from the last time we had this conversation and now, what has changed?
A lot has changed. One of the changes is what I'm doing tonight. Putting me on your network for us to talk about disability inclusion. 4 or 5 years ago, it would not happen, making sure that individuals like you have become strong advocates of disability inclusion. I'm on a national television that if I were to pay for it, it will cost me an arm on a leg, and it's absolutely at no cost to me. Babajide, one of your bosses, is very passionate about what we do and disability inclusion. I can tell you that for free, that I am aware that even the president is very interested in disability inclusion. Right. Now, that wouldn't have happened if not for the awareness, engagement, sensitization, interventions that my likes, myself and my life have given to this cause. So a lot have changed, but a lot more needs to change. And that's why we're here. That's why we're not going to give up. I'm not retiring anytime soon. I might leave the organization for younger ones to run, but I'm not going to retire from this cause. It will be something that I will do until the day the Lord calls me home.
Right, Dr. Pele, and for as long as we talk about this matter, we must talk about the importance of strengthening the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. And I remember the last November, the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Ayuba Gofwam, called for greater awareness and enforcement of the Disability Act. I mean, lamented the low level of advocacy since its enactment. There was also the establishment of an interministerial committee on disability rights advocacy. To what effect, Dr. Pele?
Well, there's a whole lot that is going on and a whole lot that the Commission is doing, including the new Executive Secretary. But there's also a whole lot that we must do. They have been able to roll out a number of fantastic policies. One of such policies is what I'm actually coming to Lagos, and hopefully we should be able to get you to be part of our workshop. We're coming to launch access to work scheme for persons with disability. It's a very robust policy and framework that my organization have developed that would help states, local government, and even the national to create an enabling groundwork for employability of persons with disability. So the Commission is doing her best, but also it's important to underpin the fact that they are grossly underfunded. The budget for the Commission is inadequate, and the release of that budget sometimes comes too late, The personnel in the commission are personnel that are transferred from various ministries. Many of them are not, they don't have the skills. And I must tell you that, many of them. And so there is also a skill gap in the commission, And sometimes the problem is that they design very good program, but they don't have the money to do it. And where even they have the money, they don't have the skills to properly implement.
Because some Nigerians have said, is it really about bringing up committees without the desired result? Let me also ask you, creating a unified approach to promoting inclusivity for persons with disabilities. Dr. Pele, what are the challenges?
Well, the universal design is very implementable if we follow the principle. The problem is like inclusive education, Inclusive education is a fantastic education system. But if you deviate from the principle, the operational principle and the guideline, then you make a mess of a very good product, Take, for instance, the principle of inclusive education does not promote, holistically, the concept of special education, which means, for instance, having the school of the blind and all that. That's not inclusive education, There is a need for us to do and implement proper inclusive education. And I'm glad, and I want to say that I am a member, I think I'm the co-chair of the Inclusive Education Committee of the Federal Ministry of Education. And we are working with Dr. Folake.
All right, then.
She's doing a fantastic work.
All right, Dr. Pele, thank you so much for your perspectives on the program. Sadly, it's a 30-minute conversation for tonight. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Dr. J.K. Pele, Policy Development Analyst and Founder, South Africa. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you once again.
Don't tell me your program is now 30 minutes. Is it 30 minutes?
Yes, it is. Today's Tuesday, Dr. Pele.
It's not 30 minutes. Oh, no, I'm going to carry a placard. I'm calling Babajide now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumo KW using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Olajumo KW. I'll see you again tomorrow.